Mason Greenwood to shock Jamaica with potential England return under Thomas Tuchel management. Join Premier 7 right now for the big chat.
It was a good game, and we're happy for the 3 points, and especially playing here at home in front of the fans. It's amazing, and I'm really happy to score my first goal. But importantly, the 3 points is what we got. Yeah, I'm very happy. It was an amazing feeling, and hopefully many more for the season.
Your life is a result of your decisions and choices. Don't blame anyone else but yourself for your problems. Lean for them, grow from them. This is an amazing quote written on the pin page, as I decided to use it as a link to what is taking place in the world of football surrounding a Mason Greenwood. Welcome to Premier 7, everyone. I am your host, Ryan Nelson. Today is a day for consideration, whereas our minds may not be where they are or should be, based on the recent news that was being published that Mason Greenwood consider a return for England. However, before I dive into the details, people, I just want to say a big thank you for listening and supporting the channel. Because without you, Premier 7 will never be where it is at this moment. Of course, the topic for talk today is Mason Greenwood to shock Jamaica with potential England return under Thomas Tuchel management. That is a question to be answered. Thereafter, I am going to take into consideration some points surrounding this topic, which includes Mason Greenwood, Team Talk News, check on Mason Greenwood's current form, and to answer two questions thereafter. Would it be wise for Greenwood to consider return, and how will his return affect the Jamaica men's national team's plan? All right. So in that case, people, I just want to show you a poll that I just put together to hear your say. And the poll actually states, how would you feel if Mason Greenwood rejects Jamaica for a potential England return? 5 votes so far. 60% would be betrayed, 40% stated normal, and 0% at this point represented the number 0. So it is fresh news and it is a fresh poll. So all the time will be needed more to reveal what the actual result will be. And in that case, people, if you are a massive fan of Premier 7, please go ahead and subscribe if you're new to the page. Of course, if you are already a subscriber, then you know what to do, as Premier 7 is here on board to share the relevant news that is about the world of football. Now, I just want to provide you with the evidence from the news that was being posted about Mason Greenwood's consideration. And it states, Mason Greenwood considering shock return with new manager to help resurrect his career. The word resurrect is a word that we use here as Jamaicans as well when Mason Greenwood was not considered. And no, that word is possibly going to bounce back and hit us in the face. All right, so the news states that Mason Greenwood reportedly wants to check in with Thomas Tuchel in the hopes that he could resurrect his England career before committing fully to Jamaica. Greenwood's international career could potentially have taken many turns depending on where he ended up following his initial departure from Manchester United last year. Given he went on loan to Getafe in Spain for a season, after 4 more years, he would have been eligible to represent them. Furthermore, in the article it states that There were interest reported from the likes of Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, and Barcelona, so that could have been a potential route. Now that he is in France, he could wait out his eligibility period there while he's playing for Marseille. Greenwood is also able to play for Jamaica, and given he wants to play in the 2026 World Cup, that is most likely course of action. But his first wants to make sure that there is no way back in an England shirt, according to the Sun for that portion. People, let me just state here, this is fresh news. This is young. This isn't something that I would say for you to just take up on yourself and start to become upset with Mason Greenwood. But it is a point, though, that he's considering his options to say that at first in the article, he wants to consult with Thomas Tuchel. From the first part of the article, we can then say, hmm, Mason Greenwood is put in Jamaica as a second choice. But we did not stop there. We went down more to say that Mason Greenwood is ensuring that if he's not given that chance, or England doesn't consider him any at all, then Jamaica will receive his full commitment. I mean, many persons would look on this from a different angle, but it takes a lot more for players to be convinced. And seeing the magnitude between Jamaica and England, if Jamaica was like a France or a Spain, then I think it would have been easier for the player to say, all right, I'm going to play for either, except playing for England. But Jamaica isn't a big nation in football. And I am just going to accept that. Even though I may feel betrayed that Mason Greenwood is putting Jamaica on a back burner, it is like a transfer window in football. When sometimes the players that you're in consideration for and a lot of paperwork have been done, on the final minute of the final day, the player decide to go to a different club. And that is an angle that we can look on things here surrounding a Mason Greenwood. But people, it is fresh news, but it can have a huge and a massive impact surrounding our mentality towards a Mason Greenwood. It can be a case that we can now forgive, or we can now say this is the same thing, like an Isaac Hayden when he said that he wants to play for England, but Mason Greenwood used a different way to play for Jamaica if he's been rejected by England. People, this isn't a good taste in the mouth of many of us. But as I've said before, some persons would look on things differently. And of course, let me know what you think so far in the comment section. I mean, I want to just look on how Mason Greenwood has been performing, seeing that we need for a player to come into the Jamaica system and have an immediate impact, if not an immediate impact, have that impact that can potentially help us to play some good football without having to wait so long. And that is the reason why, for me, Coach Steve McLaren is trying to get in a Lewis Baker, a Isaac Hayden, some players who can hit the ground running at their best. All right, so this is the current form of Mason Greenwood playing for Marseille. We know he's 23 years of age. He's about 6'1" or 6 foot in that case. His strength is that of high pressing, long ball, no significant weakness. He can play as a striker and as a right winger. But looking on his average sofa ratings, man, 7.53, way better than the Jamaican footballers. And we lack goals. We need a firecracker up front. And Mason Greenwood is our target. But look at that. Look at this beauty. A 23-year-old then reject Jamaica to play for England. If all goes well, it would be a low blow. Looking on the heat map, the right-hand side is fully red for most portions. Mason Greenwood dominates that era. He likes to hang on the touchline. Sometimes he likes to cut in and shoot. You know, Mason Greenwood is a killer striker or a killer winger. Very nimble-footed, very strong these days. Fast, energetic, knows the game. It will be a blessing for Jamaica. And so far, total matches played 7, start in 7, covers a lot of minutes. team of the week 2 times. People, 5 goals. Expected goals, 2.3. Should I continue? There is a lot of things to show here. Dribble, 36%, 49% for aerial duels 1, 47 for ground duels 1, aerial duels 75%. I think that's a huge improvement for Mason Greenwood, whereas aerial duels is considered. I think it would have been more for dribbling. But not to take away anything from Mason Greenwood, when he's kicking like a horse on that track. I mean, looking on his attributes, 78 for attack, 77 for technicality, 74 creativity. You know, he's not going to be a defensive person with tacklings as well, but his main attributes are outstanding, people. And even though I spoke about Isaac Hayden and a Lewis Baker yesterday, having those two persons in, hopefully in the November window, and a Mason Greenwood thereafter would be a blessing. But so far, so good. Mason Greenwood is that man that we would love to see. We have some clarity on surrounding Jamaica recruitment. Now, Mason Greenwood, will it be wise for him to make such a return? Will it be wise? What do you think, people? Because with so much things that happened with Mason Greenwood in the past year, do you think it is best for him to just, make up his mind to play for Jamaica? Well, then again, everybody have a decision to make by way of their own decision. And with what was being said by the former England manager, I think it was Lee Carson, um, he wasn't considered. Gareth Southgate did not consider him. So Jamaica was making the effort to get in a Mason Greenwood. But seeing that Mason Greenwood wants to speak to Thomas Tuchel himself, so be it. So be it. So Mason Greenwood, would it be wise for Greenwood to consider returning? Maybe it's because he wants to prove persons wrong. He lives in England. He wants to have a better life surrounding traveling. It would be easy in that case. There are many things to consider, but I mean, from a football perspective, I think Mason Greenwood would prefer to play for England in this case because he may want to have a point to prove. But he should look on how things went for him after leaving Manchester, moving to a different environment, moving to a place that so many eyes aren't on him. Better for his mental health, better for his life. The England fan base can be very aggressive. They can be very, very racist. And to be born in England and to be put under the bus by your own England people, I think Mason Greenwood, you have to think deeper than that. I am not trying to say don't play for England, but I'm saying that you have to look on things from more than one ways. Thomas Tuchel wasn't accepted or appreciated by the England fan base. Some of them. They wanted an England manager. Thomas Tuchel's mentality is different from a Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood could be screwed if he's not playing properly for England. The fans will get in his skin. So Mason Greenwood, I for one would think that it is best for him to play for Jamaica. Less pressure. The love will be more there for you. Even though we're a smaller nation, you could even have a point to prove when you play for Jamaica to make your name become one of the best players in the country's history. Also on the global stage, even a story could be written about you, the person that was being rejected to become a star. So you have to look on things from a different perspective. And the thing is now, Thomas Tuchel may want for him to play for England, but it will be a very hard team to make. And then again, Thomas Tuchel will not be in England's system forever. So it's just for time to reveal what is best. So the final part, Mason Greenwood, how will it affect the Jamaica men's national team's plan? That is if he starts to play for England. I think the earlier the better. We want to know what is taking place. Will he be playing? Let us know before we start to play or get more deeper in the World Cup qualification process. We can then turn our attention to other positions, like if we get in a Hayden and a Baker, then we can look in other areas that needs to be boosted. So we can turn away our attention from a Mason Greenwood who could be playing for England to maybe somebody else who wants to play for a Jamaica. What about other strikers that are out there? We need an emergency striker. I think Jamaica have persons out there who can play football and maybe not on the levels of Mason Greenwood, but can do a job better than Michael Antonio and Bowser or even a Romario Williams. So I think it is wise for Mason Greenwood to consider his option, but it is even wiser for JFF and of course Coach Steve McLaren to think more deeper than a Mason Greenwood. I think Johnson Clark Harris, I think he's less than 34 years of age. I think he would be more hungry to play for Jamaica. If we don't get a Mason Greenwood before a certain time, then I think a Harris should be considered as well or thereafter. And the thing is, people, just to let you know, I even spoke to a few persons yesterday about the Mason Greenwood thingy, and they were saying that they don't think he'll be playing for England. But look at the news today. I just had that thought that Mason Greenwood would consider an England return. But then again, he's not the person who will call the shots, because if the person up above doesn't want a Mason Greenwood, it doesn't matter what Tuchel says or what Mason Greenwood want, it will solely be a no if they doesn't want him. So people, it is my time to go surrounding this quick and fiery news that was being published. But I want to hear your say surrounding this Mason Greenwood story. Right? So the topic to refresh is to say that Mason Greenwood to shock Jamaica with potential England return under Thomas Tuchel's management. That was a question that was being answered on my end. So it is for you, the fans of Premier 7, to let me know what you think in the comment section. So, of course, people, take care. Goodbye until we meet again.